Shh! It was mid-December in the heart of the Whispering Pines forest. Every corner of the forest sparkled with frost, and the air was crisp, with the scent of pine and sweet berries lingering in the breeze. The animals of Whispering Pines knew that the most magical time of the year was just around the corner. Christmas. It wasn't just a human celebration. In this forest, all the animals came together for one joyful, heartwarming celebration that made everyone feel special. This year, preparations were well underway for the annual Forest Christmas Festival, a gathering where every creature in the forest would share in the joy, food, and gifts of the season. The leader of the preparations was, of course, Bruno the Bear, the jolly, big-hearted bear who lived by the wide, flowing river. He was known for his warm smile and his booming laugh that echoed through the trees. Bruno took pride in organizing the festival, and this year, he had big plans. "This will be the best Christmas yet," Bruno declared as he stood on a snowy hill, surveying the forest. His fur was thick, and snowflakes clung to it as he looked down at the preparations happening below. All around him, the animals were busy. Rosie the rabbit was hopping around, tying little ribbons to the pine trees that would light up the forest paths. Her long ears twitched with excitement. Beside her, Felix the fox was helping carry baskets of berries and nuts to the gathering spot, his bushy tail swishing behind him. "This is going to be the most magical festival ever, Bruno!" Rosie called up to the bear. "Everyone's so excited!" Bruno smiled down at her. "We just need to make sure everything's ready for the big night. There's a lot to do, and Christmas is only a few days away." Rosie's whiskers twitched. "Well, we're working hard, but we're all looking forward to the great tree lighting." The great tree lighting was a tradition in Whispering Pines, where the tallest and grandest tree in the forest would be decorated with hundreds of sparkling lights, berries, and special forest ornaments made by the animals themselves. It was the highlight of the festival, and always the final act before everyone gathered to share their Christmas feast. Maisie the mouse, a small but mighty creature, was in charge of the decorations this year. She scurried up and down the big tree, hanging ornaments carved out of wood, and delicate pine cone decorations that shimmered in the moonlight. "This year's tree is going to be the biggest one yet," Maisie squeaked to herself as she tied a string of holly around a branch. Meanwhile, Simon the squirrel and his family were gathering food for the feast. They were racing up and down the trees, collecting acorns, nuts, and dried fruits to bring to the celebration. Simon's cheeks were puffed up as he stuffed them with as many acorns as he could. "Can't wait for the feast," Simon mumbled through a mouthful of nuts. "Everyone's favorite part of Christmas is the food, right?" Amelia the owl, who was wise and always kept a watchful eye on things, perched quietly on a high branch nearby. She was in charge of keeping track of time and making sure everyone stayed on schedule. She blinked her large eyes slowly and spoke softly. "The festival must go perfectly. Bruno has worked hard all year. We owe it to him to make sure nothing goes wrong." But not everything was going as smoothly as planned. Deep in the woods, Cody the raccoon and his mischievous brother Leo were up to their usual tricks. They weren't bad creatures by nature, but they were curious and loved to poke around where they didn't belong. This year, the raccoon brothers had overheard the plans for the Christmas feast, and they were particularly interested in the delicious honey that was always a highlight. "I bet if we sneak into the feast early, we could get a taste of that honey before anyone else," Leo said, his eyes gleaming with mischief. Cody scratched his chin. "I don't know, Leo. You know how upset the others would be if we messed up the festival." Leo waved him off. "We're not messing it up, just getting a little preview. What could go wrong?" As night began to fall on the forest, Cody and Leo sneaked over to where the feast was being set up. There, under the watchful eyes of Wendy the beaver, was the prized honey pot, sitting atop a grand stump. Wendy had helped Bruno carve the stump as a centerpiece for the feast, and it looked magnificent, covered in winter berries and pine boughs. "Wendy's gone for a break," Leo whispered. "Now's our chance." The two raccoons tiptoed forward, But just as Leo reached out his paw to sneak a lick of honey, his foot slipped on a patch of ice. Crash! The honey pot toppled off the stump, spilling its sweet contents all over the snowy ground. "Uh-oh," Cody said, his eyes wide. "Oh no, oh no, what have we done?" Leo wailed. He was horrified by the mess they'd made. The honey was everywhere, sticky and slowly freezing in the cold air. Without the honey, the feast wouldn't be complete. And worse, the other animals would surely be upset when they found out what the raccoon brothers had done. "We have to fix this," Cody said urgently, "before Bruno and the others find out." But as the brothers scrambled to clean up the honey, it quickly became clear that there was no saving it. They needed a new plan, and fast. The next morning, as the first rays of sunlight filtered through the trees, the animals began to wake up. The Christmas tree still glittered, and the miracle of the previous night seemed to linger in the air. Each animal felt refreshed, as though the celebration had filled them with boundless energy. Cody and Leo were the first to wake, glancing at each other with bright, joyful smiles. "This was the best Christmas I've ever had," Leo exclaimed excitedly. "Me too," Cody agreed, nodding. "I've learned so much. Christmas isn't just about food and gifts. It's about being together, sharing joy and love." Bruno, watching the raccoon brothers, smiled with pride. This Christmas wasn't just a success, but a time of growth and understanding for all. "Come on, friends," Bruno called out, waving to everyone. "Let's embrace this new day, carrying the spirit of Christmas forward." With Bruno leading the way, the animals gathered once more, ready for new adventures and experiences. Though the Christmas celebration had come to a close, the spirit of Christmas, the love, the kindness, and the magic would remain in every animal's heart. And so, this heartwarming Christmas in the forest came to a perfect end, filled with joy and wonder. Every animal knew deep down that this was only the beginning of many more Christmases to come, each one filled with the same unchanging spirit of love and miracles. After what felt like hours of trekking through the snow, the group finally reached the top of Whispering Pines. There, nestled high up in a sturdy old pine, was the abandoned hive. Bruno carefully climbed up and peeked inside. To his delight, there was just enough honey left to replace what had been lost. Bruno scooped up the honey with great care, placing it in a small container they had brought. "This should do it," he said with a grin. "Now let's hurry back before the festival begins." By the time they returned to the festival grounds, the great tree lighting was about to start. The animals had gathered around the tree, their faces lit with excitement as Maisie placed the shining star on top of the tree. As the lights on the tree flickered on, illuminating the entire forest, a chorus of oohs and ahs filled the air. The great tree sparkled like never before, casting a warm glow over all the animals. Bruno proudly placed the new honey pot at the center of the feast table, just in time for the celebration to begin. The raccoon brothers, still feeling guilty, looked up at Bruno. "We're really sorry, Bruno," Cody said softly. "We didn't mean to ruin anything." Bruno smiled down at them, his heart full of warmth. "You made a mistake, but you worked hard to make things right. That's what Christmas is all about, helping each other and spreading kindness." The feast that followed was the best one yet. The animals shared stories, laughter, and plenty of delicious food, as the stars twinkled above and the entire forest was bathed in the warm glow of the Christmas tree. The animals gathered around the grand dining table, eagerly enjoying the delicious feast prepared with love. The lights on the tree twinkled, as if adding more magic to the already enchanted evening. Bruno watched the scene before him, his heart filled with contentment. All the hard work had paid off. Despite the mishaps along the way, everything came together in the warm spirit of Christmas. The raccoon brothers, Cody and Leo, had finally let go of their anxiety. They helped carry plates, set the table, and in their way, made amends for their earlier mistake. Bruno announced in his booming yet friendly voice, and the animals cheered, eager to savor the much-anticipated Christmas dinner. The table was laden with the forest's finest delicacies. Wendy the beaver brought fresh bark and tender branch salads. Rosie the rabbit prepared sweet carrot pies. The squirrel family, led by Simon, offered baskets full of nuts and dried fruits. And Bruno and Felix the fox carefully poured the honey they retrieved from the mountaintop onto the freshly baked forest cakes. Every animal carefully filled their plates and savored each bite of the festive feast. As they settled in, Cody the raccoon finally felt the weight of guilt lift from his heart. He looked up at Bruno and said, "Thank you, Bruno. Thank you for forgiving us and giving us a chance to make things right. We're truly grateful." Bruno smiled and handed Cody a large slice of honey cake. Making mistakes isn't the end of the world. What matters is how you fix them. That's what Christmas is all about, helping each other and spreading kindness. The other animals nodded in agreement as they listened. It wasn't just the food that made the night special, but the feeling of togetherness, the way every animal supported and cared for one another on this special night. After dinner, the celebration moved on to singing and dancing. The animals gathered around the Christmas tree, joyfully singing old songs that had been passed down through the forest for generations. Felix the fox led the dance, his swift movements and joyful barks setting the rhythm for all to follow. Rosie the rabbit twirled and hopped along, while even the usually quiet Amelia the owl fluttered down from her perch to join the fun. In the midst of their merriment, the stars above seemed to shine even brighter. Suddenly, a particularly radiant star began to twinkle atop the Christmas tree, as if responding to the joy of the animals below. The star grew brighter and brighter, illuminating the entire forest with its warm golden glow. The animals stopped their dancing, gazing up at the wondrous sight. "Is this a miracle?" Cody whispered, eyes wide with amazement. "Perhaps it's the magic of the Christmas tree," Amelia the owl murmured, her voice filled with awe. When our hearts are full of love and friendship, miracles always seem to follow. As the star continued to shimmer, the animals felt an overwhelming warmth, as if every tree and leaf in the forest had been blessed by this Christmas miracle. The snowflakes fell gently from the sky, but instead of bringing cold, they added to the sense of warmth and peace that filled the forest. Bruno lowered his head and looked at his friends, each of them glowing with happiness. It was the spirit of togetherness and love that made this celebration truly special. This, Bruno thought to himself, is the greatest Christmas gift of all. As the night grew late, the laughter and songs began to quiet down. The celebration was coming to an end. The animals gathered once more beneath the Christmas tree, sharing their final stories and sweet memories. Maisie the mouse softly recounted her childhood Christmas memories, while Amelia the owl shared an ancient forest legend, how the very first Christmas tree in Pine Whisper Forest had brought peace to the woods forever. Surrounded by these heartwarming tales, the animals slowly began to drift off to sleep. The star atop the Christmas tree still shone gently, casting a soft, comforting light over the forest, as if watching over the peaceful night. Bruno looked around one last time, seeing his friends fast asleep beneath the tree. His heart swelled with satisfaction. He gently patted Felix the fox on the shoulder, and the two shared a quiet smile before they too found a cozy spot to rest, drifting off into sweet dreams. The next morning, as the first rays of sunlight filtered through the trees, the animals began to wake up. The Christmas tree still glittered, and the miracle of the previous night seemed to linger in the air. Each animal felt refreshed, as though the celebration had filled them with boundless energy. Cody and Leo were the first to wake, glancing at each other with bright, joyful smiles. "This was the best Christmas I've ever had," Leo exclaimed excitedly. "Me too," Cody agreed, nodding. "I've learned so much. Christmas isn't just about food and gifts. It's about being together, sharing joy and love." Bruno, watching the Raccoon brothers, smiled with pride. This Christmas wasn't just a success, but a time of growth and understanding for all. "Come on, friends," Bruno called out, waving to everyone. "Let's embrace this new day, carrying the spirit of Christmas forward." With Bruno leading the way, the animals gathered once more, ready for new adventures and experiences. Though the Christmas celebration had come to a close, the spirit of Christmas, the love, the kindness, and the magic would remain in every animal's heart. And so, this heartwarming Christmas in the forest came to a perfect end, filled with joy and wonder. Every animal knew deep down that this was only the beginning of many more Christmases to come, each one filled with the same unchanging spirit of love and miracles.